Benvenuti e benvenute ad un nuovo episodio di Actually, il podcast che parla del cambiamento che sembra arrivare piano piano e poi ci travolge tutto d'un tratto, ormai sempre fuori studio, sempre più torinesi, sempre più con la pancia piena di tramezzini. Ricky Base, dove siamo?
Siamo tornati alle OGR, alle OGRs,
Cheers.
come le chiamano in questi giorni di Tech Week a Torino. Bella la Tech Week, è sempre piena di
Tutti
energia.
emozioni, proprio il tuo parco gioco. Sto ragazzo qua viene qua, entra dal mattino, tutti i brand, vorresti quasi rubare le etichettine dei
Tutto,
brand. Esatto, t'ho
tutto.
visto, bello emozionato, ma
Anche
anch'io
le
devo dire.
cuffie della sala in disco delle persone che ci stanno ascoltando in live in questo momento. Vediamo, se fate un applauso si sente in
Vedi che
ecco,
alla fine li chiami
top.
anche tu sti applausi, vecchio boomeraccio, pure tu. Stai
Ho
arrivando anche
imparato da
tu
te, ho imparato da te.
direttamente nel mio orto. Ok, puntata live in cui naturalmente siamo alla Tech Week, di cosa parliamo? Ops, di AI. Con chi lo facciamo? Ops, con una persona che di AI si occupa per la società più in hype, che maggiormente ha trasformato questa industria ultimamente e di cui noi parliamo tanto, che è OpenAI. E quindi adesso faremo un piccolo switch all'inglese e quindi I'm super happy to introduce here on our podcast Laura Modiano, Startups EMEA for OpenAI. Ciao Laura, welcome to the podcast.
Ciao, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for also pronouncing my name in the proper Italian way.
I mean, Laura Modiano, people listening to this podcast, notwithstanding this name, she's Greek but works for an American company, right?
She also has an Italian passport, an Italian grandfather, and a very proud Italian heritage.
At the end of the day, you're part of our community. Okay. Laura, let's start from here. You work with European startups
Yes, Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
and yeah, sorry, also for Middle East and Africa. And basically you dialogue with those startups, also enabling the use of OpenAI. As I read your LinkedIn profile, I said, okay, well, actually, I'm her target. I'm the CEO of a startup here in Italy. So like, sell me this pen. No, like, could you please tell me and tell us what is the potential impact of the use at the business level of a product like yours?
First of all, tell me what your startup does.
We do media, podcasting, documentaries, social journalism, that sort of stuff.
How much AI do you use?
I'd say nowadays could be something like 20% of our production is AI influenced.
Okay, so there are 4 categories of startups in my mind. There are startups like yourself that are using AI in a small percent to add into what they do, but it is not part of their core product. Then there are startups that have existed for a little while that are really reinventing themselves with AI and inserting AI across all their workflows. So think of traditional SaaS companies who have products, who have customers, and who are now redesigning what they're doing and finding new ways of doing what they've always done that is faster, that is solving more problems, that is having a high reach. And it's great that they're introducing AI because they're actually moving very fast because they have a lot of feedback from their customers and they're seeing what they need and they're putting it in.
Okay.
Third, we have what we call AI native startups. So think of all the like AI code generation or legal tech companies like Legora and Harvey or customer service agents. And those are using AI like at least 80%. And they're saying we're bringing what is possible with AI and applying it to a vertical in a specific industry. And then finally, we have the ones who are operating a sort of a level down and a more foundational level, trying to build AI models, which is where OpenAI is operating. So for me, the majority of time I spend in sort of the second, third category. And for those companies, whatever it is that they want to do, from whatever industry they're operating in or the features that they're developing, we want to work with them so that they can bring AI capabilities to their users' hands. How we do that is through our APIs.
Okay.
So most of you, I'm sure, know OpenAI from ChatGPT, but we have 2 businesses. We have the consumer side and we have the API side, which is for developers. And developers are using our APIs, our products, our features to build their products and to build their companies. what GPT-5, which is our latest frontier model that we released in August, has done for the first time is that we have married GPT capabilities with reasoning capabilities. And it is especially strong for developers who are looking for coding, for front end, for different stylistic behavior. It really allows developers to build any kind of solution so that when we talk about the transformation and the revolution of AI, it is these startups that are building these applications on top of our APIs because we make it possible to do voice, to build agents, to build front end, to do coding, to do debugging and repo analysis, etc., and then bring those solutions to market.
A further question from a managerial point of view,
Yeah.
as a CEO, but actually for each and every manager here in the room or listening to us, what is the best approach a manager can have in order to have people contaminating their work and their workplace with AI? Because everyone knows
Contaminating.
contaminate. Yeah, okay, contaminated probably
It's a
from
great
your
thing to do.
perspective.
Infuse it with AI.
Okay, because everyone here, I mean, and we ask it a lot of people around the podcast who pass by. It's like, okay, yeah, AI, yeah, for sure, we use AI. We need to use AI. Yeah,
Okay.
everyone needs to use it. But then at the end of the day, you see people using it in a very random manner.
So there's
Everyone from
a
his
framework I
own
always use, and that is true for startups as it is for any company, no matter the size, the age, etc. So there's a 2x2. There is, are you using AI for your staff internally within your company, or are you using it for your customers? That's the first axis. The second axis is, are you using AI to have efficiency, productivity, change how you're currently doing things, or are you creating new use cases, new ways that you're doing work? So in each of the 4 quadrants, so something new for your staff or new for your users, something efficiency, productivity. Like, to give you a concrete example, if any of you play games, like video games, we've always talked about non-playing characters. So, you play the game and then you see these characters that are just like moving around. Now with AI, we can give them a voice and you can go and interact with every single character. It has not changed anything in how anyone does their work, except for the player has a better experience with more interaction because with AI, you can now generate language. So that is customer facing, new use case or new capability that you wouldn't do before. Versus if we stay with the gaming example, if you say previously we were designing characters and I designed this like troll with an axe and now I use AI and I make the axe a sword. This is internally for my staff a different productivity tool. So there are ways to use AI across all 4 quadrants. The question is what it is that you want to do and always working backwards from the added value or outcome that you're trying to affect. So that's one thing. The second thing is that I always give this advice to managers, to founders. You have to have measurable approach to things. I really believe in numbers and metrics. I think it's how you actually not only drive change management, but create the adoption from, again, your staff as well as your consumers. Because AI allows you to not just look at the one single task, but to say, what is it that I'm trying to affect in the end? So if my goal is to have more sales, it's how do I identify customers? How do I measure my staff? How do I go out and do sales? How do I do post sales? How do I measure everything we've done? You can optimize each step on its own, or you can actually map out this value chain and say, I'm going to integrate AI here, a little bit there, to have the final output, which is like actual sales, go up. So you have to understand the whole thing, where AI is fitting in, how much you're doing yourself, how much you're using from startups, and everything that you're doing, being able to link it back to the final goal in the end.
We've been talking a lot about OKRs in the company. I guess in the
Leave me alone.
in the age of
Great. Measuring things
AI,
is good.
it's time for us to really
You
start.
can
with
use
that.
AI to measure your OKRs.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we were
Yeah.
kind of saying, no? I was listening to your speech before in the main stage. You were talking about especially Europe, how Europe is growing, how
It's the
it's
best.
how you say it's the best. What do you think it's the best?
For many reasons. First of all, as per my talk, in Europe, we have more STEM graduates than the US or China. So STEM being like science, technology, engineering, and maths, which is where the technical talent comes from. So if we look at the younger generation, which really is our future, there are more technical students graduating from universities in Europe than either side of the world. So we have the raw talent to make it possible to build a company, to build technical companies that become um, that advance technology further right here in Europe. First of all, second, we have challenges that we are actually, in a very entrepreneurial way, finding them to become our opportunities. So when you're building out of Italy, you're not going to just sell in Italy. If you want to be a success, you have to sell to the rest of Europe as well as to the rest of the world. But because you understand that if you only look at a problem in your local market, you're not going to be able to scale globally. By definition, from day one, European founders are going over that threshold of a challenge and are building for multiple markets. So they have to abstract, they have to understand what different people need in different places, how a problem is experienced in different markets, and building something that is globally and internationally relevant. That means that if you succeed in the European market, you can just as easily succeed in the American market, in the Indian market, in the Japanese market. Whereas if you start from the US, then expanding to Europe actually tends to be a lot harder because suddenly you have to understand that, oh, there's different languages and different regimes and different rules and different ways and different currencies. But if you start from day one saying that my challenge is actually my moat and my differentiator, I think it's very positive. Then we have founders who are really building ecosystems locally, whether it's investors, founders, universities that are really coming together to build that entrepreneurship from the system from the ground up. And it's not, again, only in one single city. That is extremely important because it means that not single problems are identified, but problems that are experienced across. If in a country in Europe or a market or a city, whatever it is, there's a lot of manufacturing and logistics, then people understand these problems there and build for that. And if in certain places there's more like cybersecurity threats or more e-commerce and commerce and retail, then we're building solutions for all of these verticals. Versus if we had a very singular approach and we had the whole industry that did only one thing, then we would only be building solutions for singular problems. And I love that we're seeing startups built in healthcare, in fintech, in gaming, in robotics, in logistics, in manufacturing, in every single vertical, values created, which actually translates to economic value for people and citizens, whether they're working in the companies or benefiting from what these companies are doing.
It's crazy the statistics about Europeans, about Europe having more STEM graduates than other
Yeah.
parts of the world.
I mean,
This is
ETH Zurich, KTH in Stockholm, EPFL, École Polytechnique in Paris. Like, there are incredible universities that are producing founders that all of you know.
Mhm.
You just didn't realize that they were very local.
But
My-
let me jump in it a bit
Yeah.
with my
Provocative.
my cynical approach. Okay, nice environments, nice ecosystem. We love Rotterdam, we love Munich, we love Zurich. Okay, we also love the Milan startup-ish
And Torino.
ecosystem, and Torino, and the Turin for sure, the OGR Tech. But do you actually foresee in the next future? I mean, you are for AWS and OpenAI,
Yes.
among the other experiences you had in your career.
It's because I haven't started my own company, but if I were to start one, I'd be starting it here in Europe.
But do you foresee the creation of anything competitive to those brands
100%.
here? 100%. So
100%.
like you reckon Mistral is
So you're talking
potentially
about foundation model. I'm talking about
okay?
application layer, which
Go
I
for
think is where a lot of the value really comes from. Because
Give me a name. Give me a name.
Synthesia,
Okay.
yeah. So Synthesia does avatars and video generation. They're built here. Lovable, in code generation and app creation. Klarna on the fintech side. Monzo is a European company.
They just
Revolut
had an
is a-
IPO on in New York.
And where did they start though?
Here in Sweden. Yeah, Sweden. I say lovable Sweden, right?
Spotify is in Sweden.
There you
And by the way, Spotify is a company that was started by someone who started his first company at 16 years old. And then Spotify, I think at like 18, 19, as was Sana, as was Legora, as was multiple companies across Europe, whether it's in Stockholm or outside. And that says to me, part of the reason why I'm so bullish and why I think technical education really matters is that founders are not created at 25 or 35. They're created when they start getting curious about technology. And usually that is like between 12 and 15. And, in Italy alone, ChatGPT users have doubled in the last year. in across Europe, we're seeing, I think, the second and third largest markets that we have outside of the US, both on ChatGPT and API usage, is here in Europe. So people are very interested in using the technology. They're getting AI literate. They're using the OpenAI Academy.
Do you have any data? I'm just curious. Do you have any data on like the average age of your users? Like, do you have any data like younger? I literally have no idea. Like, how old is the average OpenAI user?
I'd have to get the exact age.
Okay.
What I can say, because I was in Germany right before, is that at least in Germany, almost 100% of 18 to 24-year-olds use it. That's what I memorized for that talk. Apologies, I don't have everything. Having said that, I do think that it is really exciting that the younger generation is very digitally native,
Okay.
and they can start companies in a very affordable way. And if you think of like post ChatGPT, when we released our first models on the API and our latest one, we have cut our pricing down to 1/100th of the price. So GPT-5 is a lot more affordable than anything we've had before, which allows you to experiment, to build, to iterate, and to go into entrepreneurship with a lower risk because of it.
Yeah. I have many sets of fears that arise from what you've said. The first the first thing that I am thinking about when you mention all these numbers about ChatGPT users in Europe, we don't have to forget that in Europe we have 100 million more people than the people that are in the US. So it's a very big market, first of all. And then I have two fears going back to the startups building something in Europe. The first one is that the scale in which they can grow, it's not that big. So the startups that you were mentioning, Legora, Synthesia, Lovable just raised 200 million at a 1.8 billion valuation.
In
So,
less than a year from coming out of stealth.
I mean, yeah, this is what they are saying.
Good
but
point.
actually, they were born a lot before in YC, then they
No,
pivoted,
that was
but-
actually Depict, which is the previous company that Anton was working in.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Is separate to Lovable.
yeah, it's separate to Lovable, but it's set in the foundation. The 8 months that they are saying, it's not really 8 months. It's just like
Ricky,
little
enjoy
bit-
this morale boost
a
that we
little
just
bit
had.
more. No, because I'm sorry, I'm a little bit critic about that because then we have the big player, the
Actually,
Mistral.
so I will,
The
if you
Mistral.
allow me to correct you on that, because I think this is what you're seeing as a challenge, I see very much as an opportunity. And I think it's important to know that when you have so if we take Lovable came out of a company called Depict, which came out of a company called Klarna, and Anton was previously at Sana. And I think that's what's amazing about European companies, that we have ecosystems that work. So when you have a startup that does extremely well, so whether it's Spotify or Revolut or whatever it is. And then you have operators that learn what it means to be an entrepreneur, to use technology. And then you leave that and you start a new company. According to Deal Room, more than 50% of the operators who leave the companies they're in start the companies in the city that they were at before. And they hire their local ecosystem. So that's actually a really positive thing.
This is amazing. This
It
is amazing.
It also means that there are more companies that are built locally. In Europe, in 2025, we've had 16 companies become unicorns. In 24, we had 13. In 23, we had 7. So the numbers are going up, not only because they're magically going up, they're going up because investors are giving money. And by the way, 40% of the invested capital is coming from international funds, because those international funds are recognizing that in the verticals that they're investing in, some of the best companies in the world are right here in Europe. Parloa in Germany, Framer in Amsterdam. They're all in their categories becoming the best in the world. And I think we should be celebrating that.
Absolutely. Let's celebrate that, but let's not forget that we live in a global world, and then all the startups that you mentioned, N10, Legora, Lovable, Synthesia, let's even put Mistral AI that just raised $2 billion. They all together raised a little less than $3 billion since the beginning of the year. Just 2-3 weeks ago, your main competitor just raised 18 billion. It was, I don't know, or 13 or 18 billion. Okay, so the scale, it's complete, and not to mention what you are doing, that it's something completely out of scale. But so if we compare the two markets, my fear is that we cannot ever compete with what is happening on that side of the ocean. And what is the other problem? That the technology that we are building right now here let's put Mistral on the side for a moment. It's all based on a technology that it's made in the US. And this I don't know if this is a problem. You're gonna tell me if that is a problem. But like my fear is that there could be a moment in which the foundational model, like OpenAI, eats those companies that are created because they can switch a thing and then the company is gone. I'm a proud user of granola, and at some point, like after 3 weeks of using
is built
granola,
on OpenAI model.
exactly, it's built on OpenAI models, and at some
I
point,
love working with them. Chris is fantastic.
OpenAI released something that was completely that made granola kind of out of business. Then I was a proud user. I'm still a user of
You're still a
granola.
user, so there's room for everyone in the market.
Yeah, but at some point, I guess it's
Okay,
easier to
so let
only
me-
have
so-
one
so let me just
subscription
say one
instead
thing.
of 5.
So I work at OpenAI
Yeah.
with startups. My job, why OpenAI hired me and my expanding team across Europe, is to make sure that we work with startups to enable them, to help them grow, and to help them succeed. It is my entire mission to make sure that they are successful. It is also my only mission to make sure that startups become successful. So I think of everything else, this is my focus. There is nothing that we care more about, that my entire team works on, other than to make sure that we allow, support, encourage, and do everything possible to make sure that startups are not just projects, but companies that become unicorns and have impact and raise money and become successful and have as many customers as possible. And by the way, our mission to bring AGI for all of humanity is something that's going to happen not if we operate on our own, but if we operate with startups who are the first ones to adopt technology and who are bringing technology to your hands. You do not only experience AI from foundation models. You experience AI because you're using Granola and Notion or whatever other tools you're using, which are AI application layers. So what brings technology and AI to people's hands is what founders and developers are building on top of our models. And that is what we're here for, what we want to enable, and what we want to partner on.
No, yeah, it's for there's no doubt that OpenAI is doing great things to
And
to
startups.
business, to even not startups, but like small businesses that can automate things and that can produce more value in this region. That's absolutely
Let me step in here because he's getting too passionate. But
Passion is good.
let's say on the emotion side, because it's a moment where I personally am like I had a problematic love story with AI. Like at the very beginning, for me, everything was like wow. Now it's a moment that nothing can actually generate a wow effect on me. Can you provide me with the single story that brought you to live the biggest wow effect in AI lately with the work you're doing?
A lot of it is using agents. So
Okay.
at least on first-party agents that we have deep research. We also have codex. We have operator. So a lot of the work that I do really has to do with getting a lot of data, getting a lot of tasks done, etc. So deep research was like really a magical moment for me because work that I used to have to do over a few hours has really been cut down. And I can actually build full reports, prepare for whatever it is that I may have to prepare for. But it allowed me to do a lot of work. But now, more recently, with the new agentic capabilities within ChatGPT, I can really ask it to complete multi-step tasks that were not possible before.
My dream.
Yes, exactly. But to see that translated on my customers, for me, like the magical moment is when I have a customer say, we were trying to build this and it wasn't possible. And then you released GPT-5 and suddenly I was able to bring this value to my customers, whether again, it was like Laura Granolo or someone else. Like it truly is magical because you're not just touching one person, you're touching multiple people who might have a different relationship with AI and they're experiencing it at work, at home. For me, I have a daughter, she's 9. The fact that I can complete more tasks, do them better, do them faster, and get home an hour earlier to spend time with my kid, that is really magical. And when we look at the data on OpenAI, we find that there is like over 90% more satisfaction and job completion, task completion People are finding that there is more return on capital invested, as well as more return on shareholder value. People are completing tasks that they could not have completed without using those tools. And again, that means that you are happier, you are more productive, you're more excited to do the work, you feel better about the work that you do, and you still get to spend an hour more with your kid. So that's a win-win for everyone.
Can I bring you to
He
again
doesn't have kids. So
another
that is why he doesn't have the wow effect.
um,
Let me tell you, it's a lot of value.
the limits, because I mean you come from a very privileged perspective, like you work with huge number of startups from different industries. Do you think there are some specific industries that like are off limits for what you guys are doing? I was thinking about it last night. I was at the movies.
Mhm.
I've seen the best movie of the century, I'd say.
Excellent.
One battle after another. Like, guys, go and see it. It's wow, literally wow. And the first thing I thought after it, Paul Thomas Anderson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Benicio del Toro.
Katie Infinity.
No, Chase Infinity.
Chase
Like,
Infinity. Sorry.
like, can you imagine a most amazing, better and most amazing name than Chase Infinity? Vabbè, champagne, incredibile. And like, and literally like emotions, real emotions coming out of my body, my mind. The first thing I said with my friend was like, guys, no, like AI will never have anything to do with this industry. Like I was thinking about Larry Ellison, David Ellison buying TikTok and then OpenAI and stepping into Warner Brothers and so on. And I was thinking probably these industries here will remain at some point the same, at least with their premium products. What do you think about this statement?
I think that in every industry, including media and entertainment, there is a lot that goes into the value chain for you to enjoy this wonderful product. And this is what's great, that you get to experience this fantastic movie. But if for the producers, they used, whether it was from a startup or not, tools in the process from how they wrote the script or how they co-worked or whatever editing tools that was able to make them a better product and to work collaboratively better or to iterate or whatever process they use. I have no idea what they use, so I cannot speak to the specific movie or the process, but there are many companies that are operating in the space that studios are working with. So as long as it's done that way and it benefits everyone, then you get to have a better experience.
In the process. Okay, that makes sense.
Even I think about the output. I've seen Sora 2. I know that we're slightly going away from the script, but like the output of Sora 2 that you presented like yesterday or 2 days ago is actually amazing. So we'll see if there's gonna be two industries, because what they were when they presented it, when Sam wrote the press release, he was talking about like social media and how it's gonna change social media. But like and I don't know if there's gonna be a social media made of synthetic content and a social media made of like normal human based content. But at the same time, I don't know if in the future we're gonna watch a movie like the one that Ricky was mentioning, that it's entirely human based in terms of the output. And not synthetic made, but
I think that
the future.
generally AI, every tool of AI is here to augment. So, and experiences. So the same way that, you know, I'll use two very, very different experiences in everyone's life. So if you go to the doctor, you can go and talk to the doctor and spend the 10 minutes and you can see the doctor taking notes and then doing some search, etc. Or you can have the doctor look you in the eyes and then use Tortoise, which is one of our customers. And Tortoise uses AI to actually transcribe and get information and write the note and make that experience different, which starts with the same elements, right? You're still there, the doctor's still there, the decision's still made with the doctor, the doctor still has all the final say. But how they're taking notes and how they make decisions and how the follow-ups, etc., are written up before the doctor then checks it and sends it, AI has helped. You've had a better experience, the doctor's had a better experience. It's the same way as if there's imaging done with assistance, etc. That is an augmentation that just helps with the process. And that can happen again in every vertical. Similarly, if you think about like the advertising industry, and when we talk about expansion and evolution, if you go back like 50, 60 years, like Mad Men style, you had a customer and an ad agency, right? And so all of us now see ads. If we go back 60 years, we would have seen per product a single ad, probably in the newspaper, black and white, that there was the customer and the ad agency, and they came up with an idea, and then someone would literally paint it and then publish it. And then next year, maybe there'd be a new one. Now we've moved on to, you still have the ad agency, you still have the customer, but you also have a company that does, data collection, and then a company that says, well, what is going to be personalized, and how do we understand what you like versus what I like? You and I probably should not be seeing the same clothes. And maybe someone who looks different to me and is a woman might need different things than me. And then we have someone who uses tools to create some images. But you know what? That's a natural evolution, because we went from painting to graphic design to Photoshop to using some AI tools. You still have an artist. It's just the tools that they're using are different. And the whole pie of that industry has expanded because we have the data, because you have the online ads and the print ads and the magazine ads and the TV ads and the social media ads and everything else. So it is more opportunity that is created across the board. And we're seeing people who could have worked in this one huge ad agency and made X salary. Now they can have their company that does that step of the industry, which is possible because of the expansion. And maybe they'll make even more money than if they were working in the big company. So more opportunity for more people and better experiences for customers or patients or people who bank or whatever it is that you do. So for me, that is a net positive across the board.
AI ads sounds like something that we've been talking about in the last few days.
Let's go with a final question. I mean, we're here in Italy. You work with startups. The best startup you met and or spotted here in Italy?
That's hard.
Yeah. It's my second Italian Tech Week. I was here last year and I spoke to a company called EDA.
Eda.
Yeah.
What do you do?
So the founder is Clement Aglietta. I have to.
Aglietta.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Why don't you look it up and you tell me exactly what they do now? Because over a year they might have pivoted slightly, so I don't want to misposition the company.
Okay.
Yeah. And then obviously the one that many people talk about is Bending Spoons that are doing.
Bending Spoons.
Yeah, very fantastic things.
You can tell the audience what they do if.
I'm not
Yeah.
finding them. But it's Clemente Aglietta.
Yes.
Aglietta. Let's see. Clement.
Oh,
There you go.
Edda.
Actually, so last
Edda.
year, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So last year, I was here with Sam Altman, who was the main
Yeah.
speaker at Italian Tech Week. And then afterwards, we went into OGR and we met, I think, about 40 founders. So it was very, very interesting. I can't,
The one accelerated by,
Exactly.
incubated by,
Yeah.
by Vinci.
and it was
Yeah.
great. And it was great to spend time with the founders and hearing.
Okay. By the way, these EDA guys, they do intelligence for investors, the most advanced software for venture capital and private
There you go.
equity. They don't need our help. I mean, let's find someone else to be helped. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for joining us here on Actually.
Such a pleasure.
It was amazing. We're gonna record another episode after this one. So
What time?
If you guys are staying here, let's record that as well. And thank you again for coming here. See you in the next Actually podcast.
Grazie a tutti e a tutte. Ci sentiamo al prossimo episodio di Actually. Ciao.